What if liberty wasn't just a promise whispered in founding documents, but a measurable, tangible birthright carved into the land and sky alike? What if every person alive was guaranteed 10 acres and a home? Not because they earned it, but because they exist. That's not fantasy, that's enlightenment fulfilled. And it's the next frontier of what it means to be human. For centuries, the concept of freedom has been unmoored from its foundations. We speak of liberty as though it is a spiritual state, as though it can exist in the mind alone, regardless of whether you're hungry, evicted, or crushed beneath debt. But liberty is not a floating idea. It is physical, it is architectural, it is ecological, and it is bounded by space. The sovereign citizen, truly sovereign, needs land, not as a commodity, but as a condition. That's the first principle. In Enlightenment socialism, liberty is not granted by kings or preserved by corporations. It emerges from structure. It is cultivated by design. And no structure can protect liberty unless it gives the individual something inviolable, something they do not have to rent, bargain for, or beg to keep. Sovereignty must be spatial. It must be grounded. That's where the 10-acre standard comes in. It's not about indulgence. It's about minimum distance. It's the quiet needed to think, the buffer needed to invent, the safety needed to grow, and the decibel margin wide enough to shout, scream, create, or sing without anyone knocking on your door or calling the cops. In short, it is the perimeter of self-actualization, a zone where the sovereign self can exist without intrusion. But the material constraint is that Earth cannot provide it. Not for everyone. Not even for a fraction. There simply isn't enough land mass to go around. And so, liberty, when framed in this way, becomes a privilege of geography, a rare thing bought or inherited instead of a universal right. That's not justice. That's landlocked feudalism with a liberal paint job. Which is why we must look upward. O'Neill cylinders, vast, rotating habitats in space, offer not just the engineering capacity to house billions, they offer the philosophical scaffolding to fulfill the Enlightenment's broken promise. These are not lifeboats for billionaires. They are arcs of autonomy. Human-made environments designed from the ground up to meet one goal: permanent freedom without dependency. Let's talk scale. At 10 acres per person, the human population would require 82 billion acres of living space. That's 128 million square miles. An ordinary O'Neill cylinder, as originally proposed, offers about 193 square miles of usable land. That means one cylinder can support over 12,000 sovereign citizens, each with 10 acres, a self-sufficient home, and 0 landlords. Now, expand that. Multiply it by the population. The result is a fleet of roughly 664,000 cylinders. That sounds immense, until you remember that we've already built over 1 billion cars, that we've laid down highways, wired the earth in fiber, and filled the oceans with cargo. Humanity has never lacked scale. What we've lacked is purpose. This is where Enlightenment socialism departs from capitalist fantasy and techno-feudal spectacle. We do not build these cylinders to escape Earth. We build them to extend Earth's promise, to take what was meant for the few and universalize it. Not mansions on hills, not palaces behind gates, but sovereignty offered to all, not as inheritance, but as default. This isn't about indulgence. It's about self-rule. It's about a civilization designed not to extract, but to cultivate. When housing is not tied to credit scores, where acreage is not the result of conquest, where every child is born knowing they will never need to beg for shelter, for safety, for solitude. Imagine the implications. No more zoning boards denying you the right to live your truth. No more landlords weaponizing scarcity. No more city ordinances flattening identity in the name of civility. Every citizen becomes a steward of their land, a shaper of their space, a participant in a civilization that treats liberty not as an abstraction, but as something with square footage and sunlight. Of course, not everyone will choose solitude. Many will want community, villages, dense neighborhoods. But that's the point. Choice. The 10-acre birthright is not a command. It is an option, a floor, not a ceiling. Some will cluster, some will roam, but no one will be denied the ability to be loud, to be different, or to be alone. This is how you immunize civilization against authoritarian relapse. Not with slogans, not with elections, but with land, with shelter, with autonomy built into the fabric of life itself. The moment sovereignty is severed from scarcity, you kill the root of tyranny. No more housing crises, no more desperation, no more dependence on systems that cannot hear you, see you, or care if you vanish. The Enlightenment dreamed of liberty. It drafted the language, but it failed to secure the material. It was still chained to land stolen and people owned. We do not repeat that failure. We inherit the language, but we write a new architecture, a new physics of freedom. And in that future, a sovereign citizen is not a fantasy. They are the default human. 10 acres, one sovereign home, no masters. And when the light pours in through that curved cylinder sky, it won't feel like science fiction. It will feel like justice. That's the world we build.